I'm telling you a story so you know what happened. I'm telling you a story because it helps me to tell it. Then if anything like this happens to you, it may help you to tell your story. It begins on Paddington Station. I ring home to see if my son Eddie is there. He's nearly 19. Sometimes he's there. Sometimes he's with Melissa, his girlfriend. If he's not there, I might go and visit someone else. If he is there, I'll go home and we can chat or play FIFA or Tekken on the computer. He is at home, not feeling too good, he says. I'll be back in about an hour, I say. He doesn't seem too bad. I tell him how I've worked a new thing up in my act for my shows for children. First I tell them a story about when he was a funny, naughty toddler, and then I tell them, but then Eddie grew and grew and grew, and now he's bigger than me. And something else, he can pick me up and put me over his shoulders and whirl me round and round. Put me down, Eddie, I shout, put me down. Eddie seems to like the story. He doesn't go to bed, he's written a play. We talk about how we could get some people together to do an acted out reading. I know someone, I say. He lies down on the sofa, it's his favourite spot. I feel groggy, he says. Doesn't watch TV. So hard to wind down after the evening work, I think, staying up late, seeing Melissa, kipping during the day on the sofa when he's staying with me. He gets up once to check his pager, Melissa buzzing him. He seems fed up, aching, just like his sister had not long before, lying just where she had been lying. Temperature, aching. Hey, I said, a book of riddles has come through the post. They wrote round to a set of poets and asked each of us to write a riddle. I wrote one. I read it to him. Do you get it? Yes, he said. Your bum. That's it, I said. Your bum. Yes, those were his last words. I tell him that he could take paracetamol and Nurofen, but not at the same time. Have some ice cream, I'd say. It'll feel cool. When I turn in, I put my head round his door to see if he's okay. He's lying on his back. You okay, I say? He nods. He's got the paracetamol. He's got the Nurofen. In the night, I hear him get up. I sigh into my pillow. I don't want to be awake, seeing as I have an early start in the morning. At about 6, I go in to say goodbye. He's lying on his back. Eddie, I say. He doesn't answer. I feel his head. It's cold. I know he's dead, without knowing he's dead. Eddie? Eddie? I shout at him. I ring 999, they say pull him to the floor. I pull him to the floor. His body is rigid and cold, his arm up in the air. I've done that, I say. Lie him on his side, they say. I lie him on his side. A watery red fluid comes out of his mouth onto the floor. I tell them, we're on our way, they say. I notice red stripes in his armpits, as if his skin has split open. I think the ambulance people will come and they'll do something that will make him come alive. When I open the door, they dash in and up the stairs into the room, filling the space with their uniforms. He's dead, they say. Why have you done this, Eddie, I think, as if he's done it to hurt me. I'm ashamed I did think that, but I did. In the loo, sitting on the water, there's some ice cream. He had got up in the night and vomited into the loo. I look at it and think of him getting out of bed, being sick, not waking me up to say he was sick, and then he goes back to bed, for the last time he'd ever go back to bed. I have to ring everyone, his mother, his brothers and sisters, Melissa, my father and stepmother. One calls out, why didn't you take him to the hospital? Melissa says, you're joking. Of course she does, that's what we did. Ring each other up doing crazy voices, trying to con each other we were the police or famous people. No, I say, it's true. It's true, I say. When they arrive, we can't bear to look at each other. We'd been planets going our different ways, not in each other's orbit, each aligned with Eddie in our different paths. We now know can't revolve around him anymore. I hear the zip of the body bag. There were ways of figuring out how big he got, where his eyes came to face, the way his fingertips edged beyond mine, hand to hand, his wrists peering out of the end of his shirt sleeves. Now, the way the guys can't keep hold of his body bag as they try to slide it down the stairs. The house fills up, the street pours into the kitchen, people start cooking and washing up. I sit on a chair and stare at the floor. Someone says, "It's like the plague." People aren't piling up on carts, I think. I'm the only person I know this has happened to. No, we're the only people that it's happened to. No, surely we're not the only people that this has happened to. It isn't a good idea to leave him in the morgue, his mother says. We can't leave him in the morgue, his mother says. He'll get cold, his mother says. So he comes back to the house. I stroke his head. His hair is still growing. A short, blonde fuzz comes out round his hairline. I put my hand on his chest, and it ruffles. Under his shirt, they've dressed him in a bin bag. They must have cut him about to find out what had happened. I muck about with his hair. His shoes are where he left them. He lies in the front room. People bring flowers. The room smells of flowers. The room is full of flowers. I say to people that they can go in. Go in. Whenever you want to. Go and see him, I say. Don't wait for me, I say. Just go in and see him. There's a way we make it the loneliest moment of all. Even our eyes are supposed to look inwards. Dr. Dave, who had known him since he was a funny fat baby, says he'd have drifted off, losing it without knowing it. If the meningitis bacterium gets into the bloodstream, he says, it multiplies, and the antigens dissolve the membranes round the cells, and the body turns to mush. But he wouldn't have known anything about it, he says. The silence after lasts forever. Quieter than a... There's nothing as quiet as this. It's as quiet as nothing. I think again and again and forever, what were his thoughts as his body turned to mush? Young men come, his age, 18, 19. I know some of them, not all of them. They all go into the room. Perhaps they've never seen a dead body before. And there he is, still and silent, looking bruised and swollen. That thing with the cells, I suppose, but still hidden. My father and Eddie's younger brother, just a little boy. Come on, my father says, I'll take you in. They stand like shadows in the passage, in the light coming in through the front door. A moment's pause before my father opens the door to the front room and they slip in. It's their moment. I call Wayne and Phyllis in Chicago. 30 years earlier, was it? There Richard had been hit on the freeway. Wayne says how people are good. They do good things. I remember how a year before we had sat on their floor and read their Dear Rich book, his letters. People are good, Wayne says. They'll be good to you, except one. I wonder about asking him. What did this one say? I do ask. Wayne answers. She said, well, at least you've got 2 other children. My old friends Jeff and Carol come over. They had lost their son in a road accident. I remember Jeff saying to me how it took him to the deepest point of despair, wondering, he said, what was it all for? They tell me stories of how they do things to remember their son. Some days, they say, all they could do was go into the woods and howl. Jeff says he found an old tree trunk and carved it. Jeff can do things like that, I think. I can't. What can I do? We plan the funeral. It's fun. It's actually funny. We laugh. We think of who's going to speak. What music are we going to play? We think of the different worlds he moved in, his mates from school, his mates from the old hockey team he used to play for, his new friends from London's theatres where he's been a crewman pulling up curtains and pushing on the helicopter in Miss Saigon. It's a good funeral, hundreds of people. His old primary school head teacher is MC. The coffin is huge. I've never seen a coffin so big. One of the coffin bearers is his older brother Joe. A friend of mine from the BBC has made a montage of the commentaries from the Arsenal Cup finals Eddie and he has been to. An old friend of mine that Eddie has been talking to recently says the Kaddish. We sing the Mississippi John Hurt song, "You Gotta Walk That Lonesome Valley by Yourself." I don't speak. The poet James Berry reads a poem my father has written. Grandson Eddie by Harold Rosen. Larger than life, filling the frame of the doorway in his hockey goalkeeper's gear, a giant from outer space. Larger than life. Eddie in his Arsenal shirt, acres of it across his chest, stroking it with his great hands. Eddie with his wristwatch, first watch, in the Natural History Museum, checking the time every minute, in charge of the rendezvous by the dinosaur, making sure there is still some time left. Nowhere near enough time. We now know, larger than life, but not large enough. A poem by my father, who a few weeks after he arrived in England from America, aged 2, lost a baby brother. A poem by my father who lost a son, a baby boy, younger than my brother, older than me, who died while my father was away in the American Army. After the funeral, it's quiet, the house is empty. I pretend that he's not dead. I say to myself, he's not here. It's the same as when he's staying with Melissa. He's not dead, he's not here. Shall I write letters to them all? I start one. Dear Joe, your wild, noisy brother is dead. I couldn't do what my parents did, bring 2 boys 4 years apart through the maze. I don't know if I'll find my way as well as they did, seeing as they lost one back near the beginning. One of us fell off the boat. Look in our faces. Read our eyes as we come ashore. In our homes, you can see that we hate surviving. There are times when we think, how easy to have been him. One wave and gone. Don't tell me that I mourn too much. I won't tell you you mourn too much. Don't tell me that I mourn too little, and I won't tell you you mourn too little. Don't tell me that I mourn in the wrong place, and I won't tell you you mourn in the wrong place. Don't tell me that I mourn at the wrong time, and I won't tell you that you mourn at the wrong time. Don't tell me that I mourn in the wrong way, and I won't tell you that you mourn in the wrong way. I may get it wrong, I will get it wrong, I have got it wrong, but don't tell me. I haven't seen you for a couple of years. We meet at a friend's funeral. I remember you've had a child and you've been ill. You see me and you cry. You're overwhelmed. You ask me, how is it possible for me to carry on? I wonder if I look like someone who looks like it's possible to carry on. I wonder if I'm someone who finds it possible to carry on. You, his mother, said, why don't we go to Paris? Paris? Why? Something to do, you say? My old friend Francois has just rented a flat. Sorry, he says, but the decorators have only just finished. I'll put 2 sofa beds in there for you. The flat is hollow and smells of paint. The lights from the street play across the walls. We eat galette, wide brown pancakes with the nutty taste of rye. We walk into shops. I buy a plate. I buy a card. It's from an old engraving from a La Fontaine fable. A man is carrying an elephant, bending under the weight of it. He bends at the knees as well, head down, face to the ground. He's struggling to take a step forward up a mountain. Above him is a rocky shoulder, and across from him is an even bigger crag overlooking him. But he hasn't fallen over, and he's got that elephant gripped round its front legs. He's carrying the elephant. I buy the card. It sits on my desk. We walk past the gates of Montparnasse Cemetery. We walk in. I don't know why we walk in. I don't think a cemetery is where I want to be. I don't know why Montparnasse Cemetery, but I don't know it. But thousands of other people do. They're here visiting their heroes, Baudelaire, Simone de Beauvoir, Guy de Maupassant, Serge Gainsbourg. People are leaving lit cigarettes on his gravestone. Juliet and Man Ray, the inscription reads, unconcerned but not indifferent. I'm liking this place. I feel like I'm among people, alive or dead, who know about death. I want to know more about death. Here now is a woman crying. The woman is crying by a grave. A photo on the grave is of a young man who died 10 years ago. We stop. She looks at us and asks us why we're here. I say that our son has just died, same age as yours. She seems uncontrollably sad. How did your son die, she asks. Meningitis, I say. She says that her son died in a car accident. I wonder if that's harder to cope with. Perhaps there would be rage and bitterness at another person, a driver, or cars, or unlit roads, but not a bacterium. She goes on crying. I have a selfish thought. I hope in 10 years' time I won't be as sad as she is. I imagine her crying like this every day. But afterwards I think, maybe it's not like that at all. Maybe she leads a good and happy life. Maybe she eats galette and loves choosing melons in Montparnasse Market. But then every Sunday, or perhaps one day every month, or perhaps one day every year, she comes to her son's grave and cries. Maybe that's how she does it. This cemetery is not about death. It's about grief. I've got to find out about grief. I will find out all I can about meningitis. I'll try to get to know what doctors know about meningitis. I can't have it that Eddie was taken away, or that he passed by like a train, or that he was snatched from us. I want to live amongst viruses and bacteria, see them in my mind's eye, with us, in us, around us. They've as much right to be here as we do. Look at me, I'm nearly 53 years old. I was then. For 53 years, me and the bacteria and viruses have got along. Eddie got along with them for nearly 19 years. I start to give them brains. I say, one of them thought it would cross the membrane in his throat and get into his blood. This is great, it thought. Warm and wet, wet and warm, ideal for multiplying. The more it multiplies, the more it produces the stuff that destroyed the membranes round cells in Eddie's body. Then he died, and the bacterium died with him. Not so clever after all. An evolutionary mistake. Your greatest success, meningitis bacterium, was your greatest failure. I think of bees dying as they sting. I put my mind in the way of other people who are the parents of an 18 or a 19-year-old who died of meningococcal septicemia, now called sepsis. I'm precise about this. I know there are 1,000 other ways to die and 1,000 other ways to be the griever, but I want to know how the ones who are in my shoes are coping. I find chat groups, self-help groups, I home in on just the ones I was looking for. I feel like a vulture. I apologise. No, they say, we did the same. Here's a woman who's the mother of a young woman who has just started at university, and the young woman loved rowing. She was in a rowing club. She was going to be a great rower. She went out rowing. She came back to her student flat. She said she was tired, went to bed. She died of meningococcal septicemia. I eat this up. Dear Phoenix, your forthcoming clothes sale. Thanks for the handout. There's nothing to clothe. Dear National Blood Service, he was proud to have given that time, but he hasn't got any now. Dear Bank, E.S. Rosen's account. The account holder doesn't hold anything. No, I didn't write that to the bank. I didn't ever write to the bank. Somewhere in the depths of the NatWest Bank are some pounds that Eddie had earned working backstage in the theatre. I see them as coins in a box marked E.S. Rosen, but I know really they're just a digital twitch in cyberspace. Freddie ran the hockey club that Eddie belonged to, Arsenal Community Sports for local boys. I loved watching the games. Eddie played in goal, standing like a giant in that little hockey goal, brave and crazy, padded up like the Michelin Man or an American football player. I used to bring him back garish gridiron shirts from the US, and he stood in that goal with bright coloured chevrons all over his tops. Freddie said, "Let's have a memorial game for Big Eddie." We have it on the same pitch where Eddie played, with the players he played with. They know what to do. Freddie blows the whistle. We stand in silence. I see Eddie in the goal. He's there. Freddie blows the whistle and everyone shouts and runs about. Darren has to score so that Darren can do his cartwheel. Eddie's great friend Darren, who came over to the house and was so upset he couldn't speak. The game never ends. Every year we have the Eddie Memorial Game. The guys get older. They bring their children. Barbara, whose husband died in a car crash, tells me I'll have dreams. They'll be beautiful dreams, she says. None come for a year, then they start coming. He visits, he stands in his grey check overshirt, he knows he's died. He says he's sorry he didn't tell me that it was septicemia. I say that I'm sorry that I didn't know it was septicemia. He's at a distance, in the way that I used to drop him off in Drury Lane in time for the matinee, and then he's closer. He's on the sofa doing his crazy hugs and lifting me off the ground with all his massive, indestructible might. When he was growing up, I used to have a dream where I'm in the water with all the children, and we get into difficulty. There's a raft. I'm pushing them out of the water onto the raft, and I can't get all of them on, and I turn round and I catch sight of a face struggling, and I realise it's Eddie. 2 days after he was born, he slowed down. He became still. The doctor said he had an infection. The next 24 hours would be critical. I had to go home. I lay there on my own. I was sure he would die. I sometimes walk down Drury Lane. I let myself think I'm meeting up with him as I used to do. We go to Ed's Diner. It was named after him, we'd say. The street is full. The street is empty. The high windowless walls of the theatres stretch up and up. There's the stage door, where he would have bundled out with his jacket not quite big enough, the sleeves not quite long enough to reach his hands. It's quiet. I wait. There was a joke he used to tell about a man who had an orange for his head. The man's head was an orange, that was the joke. The bit about the orange came at the end of the joke. You only found out that his head was an orange at the end, but I don't remember what the joke was. And that was a joke he used to tell, the man with an orange for his head. Then I found a version of it in a magazine, so I pinned it up on our board. But later we took the board down and I lost the joke. I can't find it anywhere. I loved that joke, he loved it, but I can't find it. And I can't find anyone who knows it. It's gone. There was a joke, and now there isn't a joke. One dream, he's younger than he was when he died. He's got something that we both know is deadly, and I think he's had it before, and we're talking about him getting better. And he's being strange, old for his age, but fooling about. And I'm letting him because I know that this may be the last day he's alive, and he knows that I know that this may be the last day he's alive, but neither of us says that this may be the last day he's alive. And I notice he's wearing the green woolen top he wore when he was very young. And now in daylight and the dream is over, I realise that I haven't thought of this top in years. My picture of it must have been stored away in my head without my knowing it was there. But that's the least of it. It's sitting on the edge of my bed, knowing that he's not here, and that moment in the dream where I let him fool about was about loving him being here. In another dream, it turns out that a baby is in hospital alone. No one else is there. She's sitting up in bed on her own when we get there. There's a tube coming out of her nose, but it isn't connected to anything. And she's sweating. Her back is wet. Soon after, the nurses and doctors arrive. I say, this doesn't look good. They say, you're right. Someone mentions fan fever. Fan fever you get from sitting too long next to an electric fan. So then they get to work connecting the tube and doing artificial respiration. It's tense, could go either way, but she pulls through. Later, I'm coming away from the place and she fits into the palm of my hand, the size of a teacup. There's a bad moment as I sit on the bus with her in my hand there. She goes still and cold, but I blow on her. And she wakes up and looks around, eyes wide open. He used to pick up cats. They liked sitting in his arms looking out at us. I want to tell him about the cats. I want to tell him about our cats. I think of me saying to him, I think I know why cats eat grass. Something to do with them knowing that all's not well in their guts, so they eat grass, which makes them sick. Then whatever it was that was making them unwell has gone. It's not inside anymore, it's outside, evacuated. This is not the same as the hairball. Eating their own hair makes them sick, but that's because they lick themselves. The hair just goes in. What I don't know, Eddie, is why cats put the sick where they put it. I mean, they bring it up on our doorstep, and you can tell which sick it is from grass eating and which from hair. The grass-eating sick, Eddie, is a pool of foamy, sicky stuff with bits of chewed grass in it. The hairball sick is more solid, food mixed in and held together by a wedge of hairs. The way you can tell which of the cats has done it, So some of the hairy sick is ginger. And as the sun dries it and the rain washes it, we're left with a skein of ginger hair, like the twist of wool you find on barbed wire when sheep have pushed through the fence. The mystery, though, is why the cats want to bring us their sick. It feels so like an offering, an act of kindness or generosity, but that doesn't seem likely. I mean, when you watch a cat being sick, Eddie, it looks like they're trying to bring up their whole system. I mean, anything could come out. A kidney, maybe. Is it a way of saying they hate us? We sick on you and all that you stand for? Or maybe they think we're mummy, and they just do things like being sick when they're around mummy, because deep down they know that mummy will clear it up. Eat it, probably. Give them more dinner and then lick them all over. Either that or just doing what you do with good friends. You can do anything with good friends. I mean, if you were at a football match and you wet yourself, a good friend wouldn't stand up and shout, "Hey, look, my friend's wet himself." He would just nod, yeah. And say, "Yeah, man, yeah. I do that sometimes too, yeah." Even if he didn't do that, bearing that in mind, Eddie, I just want to say that cats are okay. They're good to be with. I like the way you hold them, Eddie. And that sick thing, I didn't mean to draw too much attention to it. I do it myself sometimes. Don't you? I'm doing my show at a primary school. The hall empties, and one of the teachers tells me that when she was a girl, when she was at school, she was in the same class as Eddie. She has a photo of the class when they were in year 6. I don't remember ever having seen the photo before. There he is on the front row, sitting on the ground, showing us the soles of his trainers. I'm looking at it in the empty school hall. We all remember Eddie, the teacher says. I look at his face. It's that expression he had when he was listening. I wasn't there for the photo, but I imagine that I was, and he's listening to me. That look when he was intrigued by some nonsense I was saying. Who done Houdini in? Dan done Houdini in. Who done Dan in? Dunno who done Dan in. Or those times when he listened to my torment and told me to walk away from what was bothering me. And when he gave me the play he had written, believing that I could put it on, and then when he felt ill, he trusted me to look after him, but in the end, I couldn't, and didn't, in the end. The hardest bit is remembering him talking about the things he wanted to do. He said he was going to be a comedy chef. I see him in a TV kitchen making his hot chili guacamole and saying, "The first bite is with the eye." That play he wrote, I did help him put it on, but that was after he died. Bloody music. I hate the way it infiltrates. Its nasty line in eavesdropping on what's going on inside. Good spying. It knows when it can make you open the can, uncork the bottle, break the seal on the jar, all the nooks where you'd hidden the raw, unchewed material. It hoiks it out and waves it about in front of your eyes. Look and remember, it says. You thought you could lock it away. Can blood hide from a cat? Can petrol hide from a flame? No more shall it be concealed. Listen to me, listen to me, listen to me. We're travellers on the road, always on the road, sometimes joined by strangers who become friends, who join us for a while, a day maybe more, then we part. Maybe they've got another road to go on, maybe it's us who turn off. Either way, we don't see them again. I know people I've walked with for years. There are the ones I knew from when I was tiny. There are ones I knew from when they were tiny. Some join, some leave, some head off, go on ahead, looking back over their shoulders. Sometimes they let me catch up. There's one who left altogether. He was with us for as long as he could. And oh, he kept us laughing on the way. His jokes, his faces, his noise. He took up half the road, you know. He lost his life. His life was lost. We lost his life. I'm losing his life. My dead boy once made a clock. Instead of numbers, he put 12 letters that spelt how time flies. It fell off the wall and broke into pieces. Hey, how time flies, he said. Here are the pieces. I'll stick them together sometime. It's hard on ourselves to say what our lost children might have done. It hurts. I try to think that he did what he did in the time that he had. He didn't own his future, he owned his past and his present. But the problem is not death, it's grief. Death is biology. Grief is mind. Grief is being sorry that things aren't the way they were. But nothing is the way it was. Even in grief, I have to see I am part of all things becoming different. Thank you. On March the 13th, 2020, on the Today programme on BBC Radio I'm on, we discuss whether there's a thought going round that if old people die of COVID, it won't be so bad as young people dying of COVID. A woman with me says, if anyone goes, let it be me, not my grandson. I think, oh, is Mr. Death still doing the rounds then? I thought we didn't believe in him anymore. Does he turn up at our door and say, I've got to have one of you tonight? You have to choose. Take me, we olden shout. Leave the young ones. Is that it? In March 2020, you can't see a doctor, you can't go to A&E, you can't get treated. All you can do is ring a paramedic. I ring a paramedic. He tells me to breathe down the phone. Usually men are told not to breathe down the phone. I breathe. He listens. He asks me if I felt worse than yesterday. I say no. He says, you're okay then. Tweet, March the 27th, 2020, day 12 of being ill. The year's seasons roll by in a night. Sweats, freezes, sweats, freezes. I wonder whose mouth I have. I don't remember it as made of sandpaper. Water is as good as ever. In the spare room at home, I say to Emma, it feels like I can't get enough air. There isn't enough air. I can't catch up, I say. I get so ill, Emma calls our friend and neighbour, who's a doctor. The doctor comes over with an oximeter. Emma puts it on my finger. 58, Emma says. Doctor says, is that the pulse? Emma says, no, the pulse is 115. The doctor says, quick, take him to A&E, in the car, there's no time to call an ambulance, quick. Doctor writes later she'd never seen anyone with 58 who was still conscious. Emma drives me to A&E, Elsie, our daughter, in the back. I'm panting. It's night. The road is empty. I go in. I don't have time to turn around. They're gone. A doctor is standing by my bed asking me if I would sign a piece of paper which will allow them to put me to sleep and pump air into my lungs. Will I wake up, I say. There's a 50-50 chance, he says. If I say no, I say, 0, he says. I sign. The nurses and volunteers in my intensive care ward keep a kind of journal about my stay there. They say it's my patient diary, or as I call it, my very patient diary. On the cover it says, this diary can be completed by relatives, friends, nurses, doctors and allied health professionals to record the patient's daily events. This diary may help with the patient's post-critical care recovery by providing them with information and insight into a time when they were not aware. April the 9th, dear Michael, we are your ITU helpers today. You're doing fantastically well and fighting hard. You still have a breathing tube, but you're doing well. Keep fighting. LSC and Lizzie, physiotherapists. April the 10th. Hi, Michael. I'm your helper this evening. Your vitals are slowly improving. Never actually found out what my vitals are, actually. Don't know whether they're my testicles or... including your temperature. We've wrapped you in a heated blanket and repositioned you regularly to improve your lung perfusion. You're sleeping peacefully at the moment, monitored and controlled by the ventilator. We've still another 8 hours together, but so far so good. Jenny, physio by day, ITC helper by night. Dan, who is a speech and language therapist, volunteers to work on my intensive care ward. He keeps his own diary. He changes our names. He calls me Mr. Jacobs. He writes, I said a few Hail Marys over Mr. Jacobs, even though I know he's Jewish. I think good idea. Cover all the bases. Next day, Dan writes, came in, Mr. Jacobs still alive. I think you must have thought when you went home the night before that Mr. Jacobs was going to cop it. Poor Mr. Jacobs. April the 14th. Dear Michael, you required a ventilator to take over your breathing due to your further deterioration. The ICU team had to prone you, meaning you had to lie on your belly to help improve your oxygenation. This procedure required 7 people to reposition you safely. We're hoping to see you improving every day. Take one day at a time. You'll get there soon. All the best, Michael. Margie, ICU nurse. April the 17th. Dear Michael, my name is Beth, and I've been the nurse looking after you overnight. I normally work at Great Ormond Street Hospital looking after children, but have been moved here to help look after adults. I call you guys big children. You've done really well overnight. You're starting to move little bits. Not quite sure which little bits, but anyway, which is excellent. Hope you continue this great progress. You've got this. Looking forward to meeting you when you wake up. You wrote my favourite book, We're Going on a Bear Hunt. All the best, Beth. April the 19th. Dear Michael, my name is Natasha. I'm usually employed in the community, but because the school I work in is closed, I'm helping out in ICU. This evening, one of the IV lines in your neck was taken out because the doctors are happy with your progress. You've also been moving your arms about a little, and I think you might have been aware of us speaking to you. Keep fighting, Michael. April the 24th. Hello, Michael. I've been asking you to blink and squeeze my hand to communicate, and you've been diligently obliging. It's the only time in my life when I've been told that I've been diligently obliging. Yes. Please send your NHS anniversary poem to Boris Johnson. Best of luck, Kajal Doshi, physio, ICU helper. April 26th. Hey Michael, today's been a busy day for you. Lots of doctors and nurses have been caring for you. You've been very well cared for. You've been restless at times, but I've been there to hold your hand. Alison, physiotherapist. April the 29th. Good afternoon, Michael. It's Claire, the physio again. You must be sick of me talking to you today. We've been chatting a lot to keep you stimulated so your blood pressure rises. You're turning your head when I'm talking to you as well. Great stuff. Keep going. You've got this. Claire. April 29th. Night shift. You still have a breathing tube going into your throat, meaning you aren't able to speak. So unfortunately for you, it's mostly me chatting away to you. I seemed to get a response when I mentioned that you supported Arsenal, judging from your pictures, but you didn't seem impressed when I told you I was a Derby County fan. Keep going, keep fighting, and keep being so strong. Lizzie, kiss, kiss, physio. A few weeks ago, I was on the bus and I met Lizzie. Well, what happened was a woman came up and she said, "Hi, I'm the Derby County fan who looked after you in hospital." That's how she introduced herself. Emma, that's my wife, her email to the family. May the 2nd, hi all, Mick is experiencing delirium at the moment, and this is making him quite agitated, hallucinating, and moving his arms and legs around. The doctor asked me for some music last evening, and apparently some Django Reinhardt seemed to soothe him a bit. Elsie and I made a playlist for him this morning, which is now taped on the wall by his bed, and the staff already played him some of the tracks Love to All, Emma, Kiss. May the 3rd. You're trying to communicate now by mouthing words and nodding or shaking your head or using facial expressions. Natasha. May the 3rd overnight. Your blood pressure decided that it fancied being a yo-yo. And we've had to do a good amount of deep suctioning via your trachea, the breathing tube in your throat. I'm really sorry that this is so unpleasant. It's so important to get that mucus out of your lungs. I'm sorry I can't write more with the pandemic. Each nurse has multiple patients. But keep fighting, you'll go home soon. Sarah. May the 4th. Hi, Michael. We're going to video call your family shortly. It's always important for recovery to hear familiar voices. Keep fighting. I know you can do this. Best wishes, Holly. May the 4th. Dear Michael, things may seem like a dream when you're here. You may remember vivid memories or images, sounds or even smells. That's very normal. Your family have been sending their love every day. All the best in your recovery. Joe, nurse. May the 6th. Afternoon, Michael. We've had a busy day so far. It started off with spa time. A bed bath, hair comb, nail cut and clean. And we also shaved your beard. Sorry, we know you usually have a beard, but that's just so we can keep the area around your trachea clean. I'm unsure whether I will work with you again, Michael. I should be heading back to my bladder and bowel team. Best wishes, Holly. May the 7th. Dear Michael, happy birthday! It's been so lovely to help look after you today on your birthday. You've been popular today. FaceTime calls from your family and a birthday card. You were also treated to a rendition of Happy Birthday from about 15 ICU staff around your bedside and a round of applause from staff and one of the other patients. Get well soon. Sophie, physiotherapist. Monique, ITU nurse. Emma, email to the family, May the 15th. Hi all. Mick has been calmer, more settled, and has been off all sedation for the last few days. He is responding to some commands with hand squeezing, arm movements, etc., and has some improved function in his muscles, which are obviously very weakened after so long. They think he may have some nerve damage, and I don't know if this could be permanent or temporary, and what the cause is. He is still on the antibiotics for the cavitating pneumonia. All love for now, Emma, kiss. May the 15th, night shift. Hi, Michael. I originally admitted you to the intensive care unit 40 days ago. Well, what a roller coaster you've been on since then. And you're still here to tell the tale. I've read your birthday cards and messages to you tonight and continually remind you where you are, which seems to help you when you start to get a bit agitated. Get well soon, Carmen. May the 16th, night shift. Dear Michael, it's Natasha again. Although you can't voice yet because of the cuffed tracheostomy tube, you have been able to indicate yes or no, and with a combination of guesswork and your expressive non-verbal communication skills, you're able to ask some questions and make comments. There have been moments when you've been distressed and needed lots of reassurance. This is completely understandable. Being in ITU under the current circumstances can be incredibly disorienting and traumatic. I wish you safely home soon, Natasha. Emma, email to the family, May the 17th. Hi all. At short notice today, the hospital allowed me to visit Mick. They wheeled his bed out onto the 4th floor where there's a great view of London, so I could sit with him. I played him all the little messages you recorded for him, and he definitely responded to them. He has now also had a negative COVID test. Bloody hurrah. All love, Emma, kiss. May the 18th. Hi, Michael. You've been trying to tell us a few things, but we haven't been able to understand, and that's been very frustrating for you. But you've told us you're comfortable and you've stayed positive in spite of it all. Keep fighting, it'll all be worth it. Dan, speech and language therapist, the same Dan as before. Hail Marys. May the 19th, day 43. Please be patient with yourself, slowly but surely. I can't blame you that you really wanted to go home. Hospital can be quite boring at times. May you continue to touch and inspire every human being you will encounter. God bless. Your nurse, Wincy. May 21st. Dear Michael, talking to you this evening, you're expressing how you've had to relearn many things as you recover from your illness. This is true, but remember to give yourself the time to do this. You'll get stronger day by day. Be patient if you can. We will help you as you continue on your journey of recovery. So pleased to be able to talk with you and hear your voice. Best wishes, Louise. May 22nd, email from Emma. Hi all, I'm very happy to say that Michael is moving out of ICU tonight. He's talking, still confused, delirium at times, and is trying to piece it all together, obviously, but slowly becoming more Mick-like. I'm going to the hospital in a bit to deliver him some comfy bedclothes, a soft blanket, his own toiletries. He will have been in hospital 8 weeks tomorrow and has spent 47 days in ICU. Looking forward to a glass of wine later. Love to all. Emma, kiss. I'm in a geriatric ward. I suppose they think I might be terminal. One nurse must think I'm a bit sprightly. She says, what are you in here for? I say, I don't know. If I don't know and you don't know, then we're both in trouble, aren't we? A nurse is standing by my bed. She says, you're on puree. It says so over your bed. I try to turn around and see, but I can't. She says, what do you want? I say, what have you got? She says, cottage pie. I say, okay. She goes away and comes back with pureed cottage pie. She says, can you feed yourself? I try. I can't. She feeds me the first spoonful. I say, this is amazing. It's wonderful. I think she thinks I'm having a laugh. I don't suppose many people have said her pureed cottage pie is amazing. Then after it's finished, I say, thanks for feeding me. And she says, well, it is my job. I don't understand what's happened to me. A nurse says you were in intensive care. I think she means I was cared for intensively. A nurse says you were ventilated. I think she means that they opened the window for me. One nurse says you were intubated, and I think she means I was incubated, because I was cold. I didn't know that it meant that they put a tube down my throat. I don't even know that I've been in a coma for 42 days. The consultant tells me that when they took me off the drugs that were keeping me asleep, I didn't wake up. They couldn't wake me up, so they got Emma to come in to see if she could wake me up. She held my hand and played recordings of the kids in my ear. I waved my arm, and they wheeled me back into the lift. The consultant says she was the game changer. After that, he says, I didn't stop talking. Not like me at all. I don't remember any of this. Very poorly. It's something they say about me. Every so often, a doctor or nurse stands by my bed and says, you were very poorly. Do they mean I had a heavy cold? I'm starting to expect it. They often seem pleased, surprised almost that I'm less poorly. I get the feeling that some people who were very poorly died. I didn't die. 4 people come to my bed and lift me up so that I can stand. I shake all over. I look down and see my legs. They're my father's legs when he was dying. So you sat with me, you washed me, you cleaned me, you shaved me, you held my hand, you woke me up to stop my blood pressure going down, you sang to me, you talked to Emma, you played me her playlist, you wrote to me in the patient diary, you told me to keep fighting. It's the sort of thing we do for our children as parents. But you're not my parents. A psychologist comes. He says, we filled you up with mind-changing drugs. You may have frightening hallucinations. I say, I dream I'm at a German Christmas party. I can't move my legs. Then they throw berries in the air and they explode. Boom! And then we sing, Stille Nacht, Heilige Nacht. He says. In the geriatric ward, I shrink down to a body that they test. Bits of a body they test, a body in bits. There's an eye, toe, ear, ribs, tongue, tailbone, eye, toe, ear, ribs, skin, lips, ribs, eye. That's what I am, a body in bits. One night on the phone in the geriatric ward, I say to Emma that when I come home, I'd better live upstairs so that I can crawl to the loo. I don't think I'll be able to go up and down the stairs. A month later, when I get home, I see that we have a downstairs loo. I'd forgotten we had a downstairs loo. One night in the geriatric ward, I lie in bed trying to remember my shoes. I don't know what shoes I've got. I don't know what shoes I've got at home. I can remember my Crocs. Yeah, don't laugh. I can't remember what shoes I've got at home. I don't tell Emma that because I feel ashamed. I lie on my back and make up a story in my head about a cat who longs to have pasta. He can't have pasta because his owners go away and forget to tell the boy looking after the cat that it loves pasta. After hospital, I write the story and it's published. It's called Rigatoni the Pasta Cat. I think it's about me in hospital longing for hummus. In that ward, I look down to the bottom of the bed at my big toes. The nails have come off, and there's just splodges of blood. Yes, that's what's happening with COVID, they say. Sticky blood fills the capillaries, they burst, and bits of the toes die. COVID toes, we call it. Your hands speak. Touch is a language. Each palm, each fingertip is a line from your stories. I get what they each say. This hand's in a hurry, this hand hesitates, these hands are worried. They catch me as I slope sideways. This hand knows a lot. It hunts for the lumps where previous jabs filled me with blood thinner. This hand hunts for bed sores. Yeah, it spreads Vaseline and kindness. After you've taken my blood pressure, and you clip the oximeter on my finger to find out if I'm taking up oxygen, you stand at the end of my bed and stare at me. I ask you why. You say you're doing my OBS. What is this? I say. We look at you to find out how you are, you say. Well, what do you write down? I say. What we see, you say. Well, I'd like to look at that one day, I say. Now that I've been in for weeks, there must be yards and yards of OBS. I wonder what they say. Things like, he could do with a haircut. He looks less dead today. The consultant says, we didn't know, Michael, if you were brain dead or not. I said, well, you didn't tell me that at the time. He says, well, there wasn't any point. We thought you were brain dead. The consultant says, you've got 3 blood clots in your pulmonary artery. I say, should I worry? He says, no, you'll probably digest them. I think of clots, like scabs. On camping holidays, me and my friend Mart used to eat our scabs. Oh. Maybe it'll be something like that. Yeah, we think we know who we are. There's the mind, and there's seeing our body and feeling it as it does its bodily things. Then you get ill, and doctors and nurses start reading stuff inside you. Liver, kidneys, spinal column. You knew they were there, but you couldn't read them. I think about my family. When my father and my brother teased me, my mum would say, leave him alone, he's tired. They learnt it. They'd say it before Mum could say it. My father would say, "Have you done your homework?" And my brother would dive in and say, "Leave him alone, he's tired." And then my brother would tag it onto the things he said to me. "Hey, why don't you tidy up your side of the bedroom? Leave him alone, he's tired." It could be on my grave, it could be on my gravestone. "Leave him alone, he's tired." I go to the rehab hospital next. I can't stand up, I can't walk. The physiotherapists and occupational therapists tell me that they'll get me walking in 3 weeks. I don't believe them. At the rehab hospital on the first day, a guy who'd been in the Greek army comes to my bedside. He claps his hands together and he says, "1, 2, 3, let's go!" I say, "Go where?" I can't move. I have a dream. I'm in a place where I can't see or hear. I can't feel what I'm touching. I can't taste my tongue. There's a field of bodies. We stare with eyes that can't see. I'm under bodies, but then I tug on legs and heads and get free. I look back and see 10,000 elbows and hips and knees, and they belong to people I don't know. I don't know why I'm not one of them. I learnt to walk when I was 1. I learnt to walk when I was 17 after a car accident. I'm learning to walk again. Now I'm 74. 3 times. Seems a bit excessive. At the rehab hospital, the occupational therapist says, "Throw a balloon to me." I try. It's too heavy. She says, "Every time you stand up, say, hands behind, nose over toes." I do it. Hands behind, nose over toes. Yes, I do it. It works. I remember it. Hands behind, nose over toes. Hands behind, nose over toes. Oh, they've been worried about my low blood pressure, but they brought me the Daily Mail, so it'll be fine in just a minute. A therapist comes to my bed and says, "You had a tracheostomy, so you have to be careful about what you eat. You can't eat raisins," she says.
Not raisins.
"But some days that's all I eat," I say. "I tell children in schools my name is Michael Rosen." "You can't eat raisins anymore," she says. "They say your voice is very feeble. You need voice therapy. After all that time in a coma, your diaphragm's forgotten how to work. They say I have to sing down a plastic straw so that it blows bubbles." She says that it's called semi-occluded voice production. And I've got to trill through my lips and sing while I'm trilling. And do that 100 times a day. Oh yeah, I do it. Now my diaphragm works, as you can hear. At the rehab hospital, we're having breakfast. I sit at the table in my wheelchair. The guy next to me has gangrene. "I've lost my toes," he says. He explains that a few years ago he gave up his job and went on the road. He bought a tent and hitchhiked all over France and Spain, but he came back when he started getting gangrene. I looked down at his feet, but he's got his shoes on. He leans over to me and says quietly, "I think I'll bunk off this afternoon." "Really?" I say. "It feels like school, how we used to do the afternoon register and then climb through the gap in the fence so no one could see us." But then I sit in my wheelchair thinking, what is he bunking off from? Isn't he bunking off from himself? And now I think I'm sounding like my head teacher. In the bed opposite, Peter is unhappy with the food. "The food is terrible." He explains that his daughter is a chef. I get the impression that he thinks the food in the rehab hospital is not as good as the food that his daughter, the chef, cooks for him. A nurse comes by, she looks at his bottle. "Peter, your urine is dark." He replies, "The times are dark." They don't know what's wrong with me, he says, so I'm leaving. And he leaves. In the bed next to me is a man who can't speak. Someone tells us that he comes from Grenada and has had several strokes. He's a singer in a band, they say. The nurses tried to feed him, but he won't eat. One nurse says he's naughty. One day a nurse from Grenada comes to see him and she talks to him in Grenadian patois. Then when she feeds him, he eats. In the bed across the aisle is Jimmy. He can't speak. His wife rings him and the nurse puts it on speakerphone so we can all hear it. She's from Ireland and she tells him stories about what's happened to him. She says, I got you out of that place, Jimmy. You were going to die in there, Jimmy, and now you're here, Jimmy, they're going to get you better. Are you doing what they tell you, Jimmy? But he can't answer. So she says, is that a yes, Jimmy? Tell me, is that a yes? He looks at me. I think he wants me to say yes for him. Should I shout, yes? She goes on, you must eat the food, Jimmy. The food will make you better, Jimmy. Are you listening to me, Jimmy? Is that a yes, Jimmy? Tell me, is that a yes? His mouth is open. He keeps his eyes fixed on me. I don't know whether to shout yes. They give me a stick. I call it Sticky McStick. No, it wasn't very good, was it? No. It helps me walk. I love Sticky McStick. But then a physiotherapist says that I've become stick reliant. So I have to throw away Sticky McStick. The first time I walk to the toilet without Sticky McStick, I sing, Search for the hero inside yourself. I sit on the loo and think, I wonder how many people have sung Search for the hero inside yourself to get themselves to the loo. Occupational therapists and physiotherapists help me to help myself. It isn't their job to train me, they teach me how to own my own body, how to listen to it, how to learn from it, and how to work it so that it can work. And then I get home. And when I get home, there's a letter from the hospital for me. It says that while I was in intensive care, there was an outbreak of Klebsiella, cavitating pneumonia. Bits of my lungs cavitated. I imagine something in my lungs making caves. And then after I come out of hospital, someone sends me a card with the message, Resurrection of the Year. I'm guessing that little bit of the year saves it from being blasphemous. I go to see the ear doctor. He says that bleeds in my brain have knocked out the nerve. Oh, that's what the eye doctor said, I say. The bleeds knocked out my eye. He gives me a hearing aid. Keep it on all day, he says. He goes over to a computer. I'll be able to see on here if you've got it on or not. The eye doctor says, why have you still got your tracheostomy dressing on? I say, well, there's a hole. He says, I'll find you someone. A woman takes me away. She looks in the hole. You're granulating, she says. This'll hurt. It's silver. Later, the hole closes. And later, the eye doctor says, she's in cosmetics. I was bad. I took a wrong turning in life. I got old. I didn't mean to get old. Perhaps someone led me astray. Perhaps I was weak. I just got into bad ways and I kept doing it, kept on, being old. I'll always be grateful to people who saw a bit of good in me, in spite of everything. I'm glad to have been given a second chance. I'm trying not to be old now, but it's hard. I get tempted. 2 physios come over and sit on the sofa. They ask me, what are your long-term objectives? I thought, have I got any of them? I wondered, have I ever had long-term objectives? I don't think so. What are your long-term objectives right now, they say? To be able to walk to the end of the street, go to the Jewish deli, remember what I went there for, and then bring it back home all by myself. That would be good, I think. Yes. They say, anything else? Live for a bit more? And come to think of it, I never bothered to make pickled cucumbers. I just buy them, but my mother made lovely pickled cucumbers. I'd like to try that one day. You're doing very well, they say. I've discovered that some people think that over 70s are dispensable. Or they think that if we die, there's more chance they'll be saved. I walk into walls. The edge of the table is nearer than I think it is. I pour, but I miss the cup. I miss the bottom step. You call from the living room, and I go and look for you in the bathroom. The cats aren't stuck in the cupboard, they're stuck in the loo. I hold banisters. I say to the consultant that just before you guys put me to sleep, you said I had a 50-50 chance of waking up. Was that what we all had on that ward? 50-50? Yeah, more or less, he says. In the end, we lost about 42%. The consultant says that the intensive care ward was equipped for 11 patients. At the worst moment, we had 24. We're supposed to have one nurse with one patient all the time, 24 hours a day. Sometimes we had one nurse running between 3 or 4 patients. Some nurses haven't recovered. When the doctor said that I had a 50-50 chance of waking up, I remember thinking, hey, that's not so bad. 50-50 is quite good. And I thought, if I go, at least I won't know I'm going. And I thought of Eddie. That's what the doctor said about Eddie. He wouldn't have known he was going. All the membranes of his cells leaking. His insides turning to mush, he said. And that all came to me in that moment. My grown-up sons come over and take the dad for a walk. I don't have a lead. I don't run off. And I don't sniff other dads. When I come out of hospital, I forget the names of Tom Cruise, George Clooney, and Meryl Streep. I have famous Hollywood film stars forgetting syndrome. I discover that most of the years, 2018 to 2020, have disappeared. Someone tells me we had a great party to celebrate the 30th anniversary of we're going on a bear hunt. Did we? I say, did we? You gave a speech, they say. Did I? My friend Di calls it my blank period. Picasso had his blue period. I have my blank period. The consultant says that at the beginning there wasn't enough PPE. One time the PPE that came in was second-hand. One piece came out of the packing with blood on. People see my red eye. People are kind. They're sorry that someone has punched me in the eye. Sometimes I tell them that it says on the bottle of my eye drops that they stain my eye. Sometimes I don't tell them. On March the 13th, 2020, just about when I caught COVID, there was a lot of talk in the media about herd immunity. What were they thinking of? That we'd be like rabbits we used to see by the side of the road dying of myxomatosis? Hundreds of thousands of rabbits died. The ones who could resist it bred, so now you don't see rabbits dying of myxo, as we used to call it. Was there a moment when they thought that we were going to be like the rabbits, hundreds of thousands of us were going to have to die? Later, they said they never did think that. The 66-year-old journalist tweets at me, "Oh yes, we know you were ill, Michael, but you are 74. But? That but's doing a lot of heavy lifting, isn't it? What's but about being 74? Are my days less valid than her days? If I'd copped it, would that have been more okay than if she had copped it?" With the echocardiogram, I hear bubbles and beats and volcanic mud plopping as the probe slides over my chest. Some bubbles get louder, others quieter. At the end, the man says, "Your left ventricular fraction is good." Now I feel very proud of my left ventricle. When people meet me, they say, "You're alive." And I say, "Are you sure?" At the brain hospital, they do a cognitive functioning test on me. First question is, what is the name of the Prime Minister? Boris Johnson? Yes. I think cruel to remind me of that. At the brain hospital, the nurse asks me how often I exercise. I say that I try to go for a 30-minute walk 3 times a week. She says it should be 5. The brain surgeon says, "Do you want to look at your brain?" I said, "I've been trying to look at my brain for years. I'm a writer." He puts up a slide. It looks like a cross-section through a cauliflower. He says, "It looks like you've had altitude sickness." I say, "The highest I've been is the 4th floor of the Whittington Hospital." I wonder what I was thinking at the moment they took that picture of the cross-section of the cauliflower. I remember that as they were doing the scan, I was thinking that lying there was like being in the London Underground. I wonder if maybe one day a brain surgeon will point at the scan and be able to see enough there to say, "Ah, so you were thinking of the London Underground." Thoracic signed me off, but the consultant says that the scan shows that I have a thymic cyst. Should I be worried, I say? No. "Well, why is it there?" I say. "I don't know," she says. "Well, where's it come from?" I say. "No, it's more like it's never gone away," she says. "Oh, okay," I say. "How long were you in the coma for?" people say to me. 40 days, yeah, I think 40, not 42, yeah, 40 days, I say. 40 days and 40 nights. It was a bit biblical of me, wasn't it? Mind you, I wasn't on a boat, and I'm not Jesus. No, I'm not. And there weren't any animals with me if I was on a boat. My name's not Noah either. Hey, I tried to think of Noah's wife's name. Mrs. Noah. Yeah, my wife wasn't with me. I tell children about that. I say, "Who knows what was Noah's wife's name?" One girl says, "Stephanie." My father used to say, "So long as you got your health and strength, you should worry." He said you should worry ironically, so it sounds like you got nothing to worry about. I didn't have my health and strength. Then I did. I should be so lucky. Now I sound like Kylie Minogue. You said that the last night I lay in the bed struggling to breathe, you thought the shadow of death crossed my face. I remember the line about walking through the valley of the shadow of death, or how the angel of death passes over and kills others. Passover, Pesach. I'm confused between thankful and sorry. Thankful to be here now, sorry for those who didn't make it. Sorry for you, as I imagine what it felt like to look on that shadow. My hearing aid amplifies sounds going on in my mouth. "Don't gulp," my 16-year-old says. "I'm not gulping," I say. "It's the hearing aid. It amplifies the sound of me swallowing." He says, "I don't care. Just stop gulping." I could switch my hearing aid off, I say, but I might not hear what you're saying. "I don't care," he says. "Don't gulp." I switch my hearing aid off. "That's better," he says. You get used to the body you've got, you know it. You may not have words for it, but you have pictures of bits of it, how the bits move. It says, one bit says, "Hi, I'm your back. This is how you bend." Another bit says, "Hi, I'm your mouth. This is what your teeth feel like." "Hi, I'm your legs. This is how you walk." It's your body in your mind. Then a big thing happens and your body changes. You've got a new body bits, and your mind struggles to know it. To start off with, it doesn't want to. You don't want to know your new body. You want your new body to go away. Then slowly you start to find out ways to get to know it. And you can try not to, though. It won't make any difference. It'll still be there saying, "Hi, I'm your new body." It doesn't walk away, it's always with you. You have to get on together. I'm asked to speak at an anaesthetist's conference. I stand up to speak. I say, "I'm glad to be here." I think about that. I'm glad to be here now with you, but I'm also glad to be here. Yeah. You've asked me to speak for an hour about what it was like being in a coma. The thing is, I don't know. You did a great job. Actually, if I did know what it was like being in a coma, you wouldn't have done a great job. So that's it, really. Thanks very much. Sorry it didn't last for an hour. I'm not who I was. I try not to be sad about that. Again, grief is being sorry that things aren't the way they were. Things not being the way they were is grief, yet nothing is the way it was. Even in grief, we see that we are part of all things becoming different. I remember I said to Emma, the physiotherapist at the rehab hospital, that I didn't think I'd be able to do a show to hundreds of children in a theatre again. She said I would. I thought she was just saying that to cheer me up. This year, I do a show to hundreds of children at the Queen Elizabeth Hall. A woman with her kids asked me to sign a book. "It's me," she said. "It's Emma, the physiotherapist." And this was the poem that they pinned up at the end of my bed that Kajal Joshi wanted me to send to Boris Johnson. These are the hands that touch us first. Feel your head, find the pulse, and make your bed. These are the hands that tap your back, test the skin, hold your arm, wheel the bin, change the bulb, fix the drip, pour the jug, replace your hip. These are the hands that fill the bath, mop the floor, flick the switch, soothe the sore, burn the swabs, give us a jab, throw out sharps, design the lab. And these are the hands that stop the leaks, empty the pan, wipe the pipes, carry the can, clamp the veins, make the cast, log the dose, and touch us last.